All right. Welcome everyone to our October Develop with Light meeting. We are going to talk about self-portraiture, and I'm super excited about this topic. It's one of my favorites, and I'm going to share my screen with you, and I will go over the presentation. Let's get started. All right, here we go. Mastering the art of self-portraiture. So I'm super happy to have you guys back to our monthly topics after our summer break. I'm super excited about this topic. It's one of my favorites. I have been doing self-portraits for quite a while by now. It started without big intentions. I just eventually, my daughter is went to college and was a little tired of being in front of my camera, being my model. So I had no more models, and I was like, man, what do I do now? And eventually, oh, I could be my own model. And that turned into a project that was very unplanned. And in the beginning, I did not even realize that what I was doing was just trying out light or trying out props or trying out locations or whatever it was. But then at one point I realized, boy, I have this collection of images now, and I actually do self-portraits. That's cool. It's fun. And so, yeah, I'm really happy. I'm super excited that we are going to do this for the entire month of October. And I hope many of you will share their images. I know this is hard. I feel it's especially hard for us as women, but that's one of the reasons why I think we should all do it. I will go over that a little in detail in a while. A little bit about me for our new members. I started my photography journey in 2012. I was born and raised in Germany. This is where my accent comes from. My first name is pronounced Ute. And I am the host of Develop with Light, which started as a self-paced workshop that is available over at Click Photo School, can be downloaded and as digital content. And that turned into this group of amazing photographers. And I love our community. I don't even know, I did not recently check, but I think we have over 300 members by now, which is super exciting from all around the world. So if you watch this recording later on YouTube and you're not yet a member of our group, please don't hesitate and join us on Facebook for more information and to be in touch with other people in the group. All right, I already talked about that. This is our group, and this is also the workshop. It's available. It's, I think, $40. It's a steal for the content. I cover 4 major creative photography techniques. I go over the use of prisms. I go over slow shutter photography, double exposure, intentional camera movement. You will receive step-by-step video tutorials that walk you through everything from camera settings to troubleshooting with prisms. You will also learn about my system of capturing colors and flares with creative photography techniques. It's an easy to follow PDF with on the basics of creative photography techniques. Good. Our next meeting, another thing that I want to mention quickly, so the way this group works, I post a new topic every month at the beginning of the month that's going to be shared in our Facebook group. Sometimes we vote and sometimes I suggest something. We have a meeting where we talk in detail about the upcoming topic that's scheduled for every first Friday of the month. It's always at 11 a.m. EST, which is great for me, not perfect for everybody. I get that. But since we come from so different parts of the world, it's very hard for me to find a time that works for everybody. And this is why I do the recordings and post this later on YouTube. So if you want to go back for information that you want to go over one more time, or you missed a meeting, that's a great way to catch up with what's going on in the group. Also, you can always ask questions. Yeah, share your favorite images with me. That was an idea I had a while ago. If you're interested in that, I'm interested in sharing your work in form of a newsletter with our people. So use my email address, californialoverphoto@gmail.com, to do that. All right, let's see what we are covering today. I will introduce the topic and go over technical aspects of self-portraiture. I think that's a big one because we're not only doing self-portraits, but we are going to do them with manual lenses. That being said, if you feel it's very out of your comfort zone, well, I mean, then grab your traditional lens and do that. It's another option. But in general, the idea for this month is to use your manual lenses and take self-portraits and figure out how to do that, which is challenging, I have to admit it, but it's also a lot of fun. And I will tell you later what I love about using manual lenses when it comes to self-portraits. I will talk about benefits of shooting indoors or in nature. I will talk about aperture choices, and then we will go over how to plan your self-portrait. We will also talk a little bit of the impact of light on your images. And a big part for me is where to find inspiration from. There are people who have done that in the past, and there is a lot to discover and to share. You can do that if you find something this month that inspires you. Feel free to share it in the group. There's always someone who might need that. And the last topic that I find is going hand in hand is staying motivated and accountable, because I do know how hard it is or how easy it is to come up with an idea and to feel happy about it and excited and really want to do it. And then a few pictures into the project, you're like, oh my God, this is so much harder than I thought. So we will go over that. And then also how to deal with frustration and managing expectations, which is really a big part of self-portraits. All right, so self-portraits offer a profound medium of self-expression and self-discovery. And that is what I love about self-portraits. It really was an unexpected journey for me. So it changed my whole approach of photography. So before it was more about taking pictures, working with effects. And when I started being in front of my own camera, I realized I started thinking about this story. I started thinking about how do I want to show up? Do I want to show up in this image, or is a picture of a hand or a reflection or a shadow good enough as a self-portrait because I possibly don't want to see my aging face in the image? How to present myself, all that is a big story of self-portraits. And what I learned is it really doing self-portraits can help you to reclaim your narrative, to build self-confidence and challenge the norms of beauty and identity. I feel there's so much pressure on social media, via social media, how we should look, how we should eat, how we should move, how we have to act as women. It can be a lot, and it can be hard to be ourselves or to even accept ourselves, to see ourselves. And that is what self-portraits will do for you. It will not happen during the very first image. Give yourself time to grow. If you really love this project, I suggest do it at least for a year, do it for multiple years. And initially what I learned is I don't like the images that I take on a certain day. I look at the images like, oh my God, this is not how I felt. This is not what I expected. But when I let those pictures sit and wait, this is when they develop their power. And when I start seeing things that I maybe didn't want to see in the first place while I was taking the image, what was going on in my soul, what was going on in my life. But all this will be part of the image, and it will be super helpful to learn these things. So it's a project that offers a lot of room for self-reflection and getting to know yourself and making peace, maybe even peace with yourself. All right. Let's talk about technical aspects of self-portraiture. Since we are going to work with manual lenses, one of the main problems will be how to set focus. So with a traditional lens, you have the autofocus and it's super quick, not a problem. With a manual lens, you need to plan in advance. The way I do that is I use a stand-in. This can be a chair, this can be a broom, this can be a lamp, this can be a doll, whatever you have. It could even be your spouse, your child, anything that that can be located in the location where you later want to be in that image. And then you go back to your camera, you focus on this stand-in object, and then that's your reference point. And then you take it out, and now you place yourself in that location, and then you start playing with it. This has worked for me is the best I can do. It doesn't always work. Even then, it can be tricky. But with that being said, I also want to raise awareness of, think about if every story needs to be told in a tech sharp way, or if there are stories that you want to tell that are out of focus. So it could be another beautiful aspect of your self-portrait. Choosing the right aperture is an important story in self-portraiture. So when you work with a super wide aperture, you will naturally have a shallow depth of field, which means a minimal focus area, and a lot of room for accidents where things are going to be out of focus. So what I recommend is that you start with smaller apertures like f.8 or f8 or f11, because you will have a larger depth of field. And with that, the whole focus thing will be more forgiving. I recommend that you choose, in the long run, choose your aperture based on the story that you want to tell and not on what is easiest to create focus. But this is something that you will figure out over time. I also wanted to go over the term depth of field, because that is such an important thing in photography. So remember that a wide aperture which means small number. If you haven't covered that yet, I highly recommend that you sit down with this and let it marinate and make an effort to understand that wide apertures are small numbers, small f numbers like f1.4, 2.8. Those are considered wide apertures because your lens is wide open while you shoot. And then a small aperture, which creates a large depth of field. So a lot of things will be in focus. The larger numbers, so f8, f11. When you do self-portraits, I highly recommend the use of tripods and remote controls. I'm not the biggest fan of it, I have to admit. I find it cumbersome to carry a tripod. But when you do self-portraits, there's no way around of familiarizing yourself with a tripod, or you will be stuck with shooting from this low angle or anything you can find that works. I mean, sometimes that works, and I've done it for a long time, but eventually I gave in and was like, okay, I need a tripod, and it really improved the quality of my self-portraits. It gives you more flexibility, it gives you more vantage points. It just is super helpful. And so are remote controls, because you don't have to go back all the time for every single image, and you can keep shooting while you have your remote control in your bag and in your pocket or something like that. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that it is important to be patient and to be willing to explore when it comes to self-portraits. I mentioned that already, that for me, I mostly have an idea of what I want, and I rarely get what I want. That doesn't mean that I don't like the images, but it can be frustrating at times. And it is helpful to be patient and to have this mindset of, okay, today I play with my camera, and it's not only a recipe that you fulfill. I want to go over the difference between taking self-portraits indoors versus outdoors. When you take an image indoors, your surrounding will play into the image, into the mood, into the story when you work with smaller apertures and things are in focus. So that is one way to tell the story. What I like about indoor self-portraits is you are working in a confined space, in a protected space. You don't have to deal with other people. You can set the time. You can choose the light that you want to work with, be it artificial light or natural light. You also get to know the light in your house with that kind of a project, and that's a big bonus. It really makes you a better photographer. Then once you're familiar with your self-portraits, or you're a little more familiar, I recommend to venture outside and to take self-portraits in nature. They will have a whole different tone. When you shoot in nature, the subject becomes a part of a larger ecosystem, and the surrounding can symbolize the connection between the self and the environment. Knowing that means that you also need to be aware of the story that you want to tell. just to place yourself somewhere and take an image will create an image, but not necessarily something that is meaningful. So I journal, and I find that helpful in self-portrait when I do my self-portraits, because journaling always makes me aware of what's going on in my life, and those thoughts, they become part of my self-portraits, and with that, my self-portraits have a meaning that I find very important. I recommend that you plan your self-portrait. Maybe that's something that you find a little harder in the beginning, because it is a lot to just position yourself in front of the camera, to set it all up. And maybe in the beginning, it's not that important. But once you have done a few self-portraits, I do recommend that you start thinking about what is it that you want to express in your self-portrait. And once you've figured that out, it is helpful to come up with like a storyboard where you think, okay, what kind of outfit do I need to tell the story? What kind of light do I need to tell the story? Are there any props that could support my story? So in this image, there is some text over it, but I was reflecting on my life as a housewife, and being a married woman. So I was using these kitchen utensils, and I was on purpose wearing my wedding band, making that part of the image. It is a darker image. It's definitely reflecting a more complicated mood of mine. While you do your self-portraits, also pay attention to light. It makes a big difference if you work with artificial or natural light. When you work with artificial light, you are in control. You set the tone. You can choose the intensity, the direction, the color temperature, the light source. It allows you to craft a specific atmosphere and mood, from dramatic and moody to bright and cheerful. When you work with natural light, on the other hand, it's a little more unpredictable, which is not a bad thing. You just have to be flexible. It can produce stunning, soft, and organic effects. I love both. I love playing with both. I find my self-portraits that I create with artificial light a little more intentional, while my self-portraits with natural light are more a result of how I see the light and how I feel inspired by the light. So I definitely recommend try both. I started out doing self-portraits in natural light, and then later I was a little bored, so then I started adding artificial light, and I can only say I love it. It's so much fun. How do you find inspiration? So the way I find inspiration, I can be inspired by tons of things, and I made a list here for you. I do find inspiration by reading. So a story can inspire me. I do find inspiration in listening to music. I love all kinds of music. But classical music has a special place in my heart, and it can get me in a mood where I just want to create something or create in a certain way. You can look at other self-portrait artists, or just be in nature and feel your love for nature, how you feel in nature. Sometimes we feel connected. Sometimes nature makes us feel small. And all these things can be very inspiring when it comes to self-portrait. Another interesting inspiration can come from your cultural heritage, emotions and feelings. How do you feel on that day? How do you feel overall? Is there something that you're working on currently? Are you dealing with sadness? Are you dealing with aging? Are you dealing with grief? All this can be expressed in self-portraits, and it is a healing experience. It really is. It's a journey. You can be inspired by your dreams. You could have a journal next to your nightstand. It's something that I do when I wake up. The first thing is I write down what I dreamt, because I know if I don't do that, I will forget about it. Definitely one can be inspired by art and creativity in general. So going to a museum, looking at masterpieces can be super inspiring. Or just if you have an interest for a special historical period, you could come up with ideas like setting that in scene, making yourself costumes, or interpreting. German accent is coming through again. Art that you love for whatever reason, or a certain time that you find really fascinating, and make that part of your self-portraits. Abstract concepts can be a lot of fun, like wanting to express one word, one emotion, and working with that for like a week or a day, I don't know. And of course, travel and adventure. Staying motivated, I started already talking about it a little. There are ways that help me to stay motivated and to keep up the motivation. Number one, I do schedule time for myself. I really put that in my calendar. I typically plan my week on Saturdays or Sundays. I write everything down that needs to be done, and then I carve out time for myself, and I really put that in. So to remember, let's say, oh, it's Thursday, I wanted to do a self-portrait, and this is the time. So that really helps me. Accountability can help you to stay motivated just by talking to friends about your project, interested friends. That can be super encouraging. And a thing that I only learned recently or within the last few years is I always thought inspiration has to hit me. Creativity has to come and knock on my door, and then I can produce. But what I learned is that's not true. It actually helps to have a routine, to carve out time for your art, for your photography in this case. And oftentimes when the time arrives and I know, okay, now it's time, I have to set up the camera, I have to set up the light, I feel very intimidated. It's like, I don't have an idea, but I promise you, there is always something will come to your mind. And I have created so many images that would not exist just by putting the time block in my calendar and saying, okay, Ute, it's time to shine, pick up the camera, do it now. What happens when you feel frustrated? And that is probably the most important aspect of self-portraits. I promise you, you will be frustrated. It will happen. A lot of things can go wrong. I mean, you have a perfect picture in mind and it looks so easy and it should be done in no time, but nothing works. It looks completely different. The light is off, the tones are off, the energy is off. Can be like a big hurdle. And for some people, it might be the moment where they just throw it and say like, oh, I'm done. I don't want to do that. What I do when I feel frustrated, I see it as a challenge and I use it to experiment. So like in this case here, I had the bathing suit that I had just bought. I had started swimming and I actually hated myself in the bathing suit. But I still wanted these colors in the image and it looked terrible. And then I kept adding, I had the yellow swim cap and I had the orange and white striped towel. It's like, okay, all right, I really love the colors. What can I do with it? I still didn't like myself in the bathing suit, but then I started moving and this image, that was not what I had originally in mind, but I love it. And then learning from your mistakes. So see frustration as a good thing in your life, because when you're frustrated, it's mostly because things don't go the way you expected them to go. If you're open to learn from those mistakes, you can only do better next time. And I mean, we all know without mistakes, there's no progress. Patience is key is another important one. It takes time, you know, these images, like I said, I'm working on my self-portraits for the last 2 years. I have had more than enough moments where I was like, I'm not even a self-portrait photographer. What am I doing here? But now 2 years later, I'm so glad I did it because, sometimes I only in hindsight understand what happened in my life at that time. And I learned so much by looking at my images again. It made me a better photographer. It made me more understanding. I talked about that it is so easy for us and we're so used to pointing our camera at other people. And it can be tempting to say, oh, don't make a fuss. I mean, it's just a picture, come on. But once you turn the camera towards yourself, you realize, oh boy, it's so much more than just a picture. And it can make you a better photographer, give you more empathy with your clients, with the people in front of the camera. All right, with that, we are almost coming to an end. I hope you will have a great time in October. I hope I could inspire you. I hope you feel ready to pick up the camera and play with your camera and play with these ideas, come up with your own ideas, play with color, play with locations, play with light. There's so much to do and to discover. If you still need something to take these images, let's say a manual lens, you may use my discount code. I love Lens Baby lenses, and I know many of you here in the group do love them too. They are having a sale right now, an amazing sale, and actually my Omni filters are on sale this weekend. They are 20% off. If you add my coupon code, this is my dog, by the way. I hope you don't hear him barking, but maybe you do. You get 30% off, which is a steal, ends on Sunday night. Thank you for listening. I hope you had a great time. If you have questions, feel free to send me an email, contact me via my website or via Instagram. It's all, you can find me under californialover.com, California on Lover on Instagram, or californialoverphoto@gmail.com if you want to send me a quick email. Thank you for listening and have fun this October. Happy shooting.
Okay, bye.
Good. Let me stop the recording.